So in this video, I'm going to explain the gap fill report on edgefull.com. And here we're going to be looking at SPY in the trailing 1 year. So here you can see that 62% of the gaps up in the last year have filled and 59% of the gaps down in the last year have filled. So here I'll show you exactly what that means. So right here, you're actually looking at our TradingView indicators, which you can request right here. All you have to do is click Get Access Now, and you'll see we'll assign you access to these TradingView indicators. And what you can see is this is a gap up because price opened above previous day's close. So this yellow line here is the previous day's closing price. You can see that we have a gap up by this blue box. And as the gap actually fills, this box will dynamically update so you can see like the live gap. You can see that here the gap filled. So, and then this is indicated by this little yellow box around the candle. But a gap fill is when price comes back down to touch the previous day's closing price in either direction. So what does that mean? Let me show you here. There is a much larger gap right here. This is a gap down. So price closed yesterday right here, opened all the way down here, and as the gap is filling, you'll see this TradingView indicator filling. The red section is going to get smaller and smaller until it touches this area. So a gap up is when price opens above the previous day's closing price. So you can see that here, a gap up above the previous day's closing price. A gap up that gets filled is when price comes back down to touch the previous day's closing price. And then importantly, a gap up that does not get filled is if price never gets to that previous day's closing price. Then same thing for gap down. Price opens below yesterday's close. A gap down that gets filled would mean that price comes all the way up to touch that previous day's closing price. And then if it does not fill, which could potentially happen today here, means it doesn't get to this area, this closing price. So it comes up and it doesn't actually reach it on this day. So it's important that I mention that we measure gaps day over day. We don't measure gaps multiple days out, which means, so in this case, this gap didn't fill, and that will be not filled. Even though price came down to this area again, it is still a gap that is not filled. So in this report, you can see this report gives you a certain bias on the day to say, I think that I should be bullish or bearish based on whether we open above or below the previous day's close, and you can target that previous day's closing price. So now I'll move on to the by size version of the gap fill report. So here you can see that we have it broken out by different gap sizes. So here we have less than 0.1%, and as you go a little higher, these are just different percentages we have. But what you see is that smaller gaps tend to fill for SPY in the last year, and then larger gaps actually tend not to fill. So it's important to understand smaller gaps, you can target that gap fill. Larger gaps, you don't really want to target the gap fill because historically it's not going to happen. We also have the by weekday variant of this report, which is a very, very interesting report. If you look at Mondays, 95% of gaps down on Mondays in the last year have filled. So what that means is for every time Monday opened below Friday's closing price, it has come up to touch Friday's closing price. So very bullish on Mondays. Just a kind of a tip. I'm not sure how long this will last. The data changes very frequently, but just something to keep in mind. And then as you go throughout the week, you can kind of see these different, how the data changes. Then we have videos for these two specifically. These are a little more different, so you can go and check out these reports and you can see the videos right down here. And then for the buy spike, same thing. You can see the videos right here. They're a little bit different. Make sure to check those out. But we have the explainer graphs, we have the TradingView indicators, we have the text explainer, and you'll see the video right here. If you guys ever have any questions, please reach out to our support. It's hello@edgefull.com. We'll make sure to get your questions answered, and thank you for watching.